Hello, isn't it nice to see spring has arrived at last? Today I'm making frumenty, an old-fashioned dish. For this recipe you will need wheat, milk or cream, nutmeg, raisins, eggs, and sugar. Frumenty is a very old dish. Some people call it Furmenty, and where I'm from in Devon, we usually call it Furmenty. I think the name comes from French or maybe Latin. It's based on wheat grain, and I had Annie Chase prepare this 3 days ago. She removed the husks and then soaked it. Sylvia has boiled it in plain water. In the very old days, in the medieval times, I think they used to eat it just like this, maybe add in a little honey. It's one of those dishes that over the years has been eaten by the poor and the rich, although you couldn't be too poor, as it does need to be boiled, so you would need a good fire. I am going to make the recipe my mother used to make. Devon has plenty of good milk and cream, and now that spices and sugar are a lot cheaper, I will add those in as well. I suppose we are lucky that we can now eat something that centuries ago could only be eaten by the rich. I'm going to start by plumping up my raisins with some hot water. You don't have to do this bit, but it's a tip to set you in good stead if you aim to be an excellent cook rather than a good cook. If you're serving this at Christmas, which Mary Ann says is the case in Yorkshire, then you could soak them in rum or brandy. I'm going to add boiling cream to my hot grain. You could do this on the stove. The milk, of course, comes from Lord Braybrooke's Jersey herd, and I have to say it is excellent because the cows yield a high quantity of cream. I'm very used to eating this. It takes me back. In the West Country, this is always eaten on Mothering Sunday. In fact, it's often referred to as Furmenty Sunday as it's eaten so often. We would progress to church and then head home for a feast. It's sometimes served at fairs or hawked around the streets in earthenware pots. I'm now going to add my sweet spice, the sort you would put in cakes. Oh, and a little nutmeg. And lightly beaten eggs. Not everyone uses eggs, but Mother used to say it made it a proper meal and more of a celebration. Everyone cooks frumenty differently. I don't think I've ever seen a recipe written down, or apart from in personal recipe books, nothing published. I suppose it's because it's part of everyone's life, and nowadays is only really eaten in working class villages. Nobody writes down the everyday, do they? I'm now going to add my fruit. And it's ready to serve. I suppose you might be wondering who's going to eat this after everything I've said. Well, I do know it's a favourite of Mrs. Warwick, and Mr. Lincoln's rather partial too. So I will serve this at the upper servants' supper as a surprise. I will also serve it with sugar, so everyone can sweeten it to their taste. There we are, frumenty, a Mothering Sunday dish in Devon and a lovely surprise for the upper servants' supper.